Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and WoW's 20th anniversary update should be launching around the month of November. With this update, we get access to a ton of new activities with open world content, new world bosses, new ways to experience older raids and dungeons, plenty of amazing 20th anniversary sets to collect for multiple classes, but also a ton of class changes for you to experience, featuring thematic revamps of some of the fan favorite hero talents, but also adjustments to plenty of classes, which is definitely going to shake up this season 1 meta. If you're looking to get a couple of classes ready for this update, whether you're looking to play more ults, maybe switch out your main, or just want to collect all of the 20th anniversary cosmetics for each and every one of the classes, it might be a good idea to do some leveling to get prepared for the 20th anniversary update. And I wanted to help out with that by providing you with some of the fastest ways to level a character from level 1 to 70 within the War Within expansion. Because level 70 through 80 is pretty self-evident. You follow the main story of War Within, or do side activities, or even just spam dungeons and delves. But anything below that from 1 to 70, that can take a little bit of time unless you know what you're doing. So these are going to be the fastest methods for you to get some of the early leveling grind done before you can finally dive into War Within content. As always, if you guys want to see more guides like these for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Before we dive into actual leveling strategies, we first need to get our character to level 10. This can be done by a couple of ways. One, if you're starting with a basic character like a non-allied race, you first need to level them from 1 to 10. And the fast way to do that has been proven is to do the Exile's Reach. It's insanely fast and efficient for 1 to 10 leveling. It's been tested multiple times and confirmed to be the fastest method out there to get a character from 1 to 10 really quickly. Another way to do it is to skip the leveling process by making an allied race which just start out at level 10. And once we're level 10, we can start going through one of the few different leveling paths available to us. The first leveling method is going to be called, well, I'll call it, is Immortal leveling, at least for the time being. Through Chromie time, we can select the expansion of Dragonflight and level through the Dragon Isles. Though Dragon Isles originally were designed to be one of the higher endgame zones for back when that expansion was the concurrent content. So for newer players, they felt that them coming back to the game, maybe last time they played in Vanilla, TBC, Wrath of Lich King, Cataclysm, maybe in Pandaria, coming into a new expansion with skywriting and classes being changed and so many different enemies doing so many different things at once, they felt that newer players may struggle with all of these different aspects and so many different changes that can be experienced in just one expansion. So what they wanted to do is to buff up our classes and buff up new players in order for them to have as easy of an experience as possible. And this is where they introduced the buff of Prismatic Blessing, where the Dragonflights all grant adventurers their blessing, providing with various boons. There's a bunch of different buffs that make your character a lot more powerful, and we could go into all of them, but none of them are really that important to this video, none of them except for one, and that is the buff of the Red Dragonflight. The Red Dragonflight's buff allows you to have a cheat death mechanic when you die, but as of this moment, it is a little bit broken. It doesn't really have a cooldown, so as long as you're being attacked by another enemy that is within your level range, so elites above your level or other players do not count. As long as you're being attacked by an enemy that's within your level range, it will save you from death, but it doesn't apply a debuff where you can't be saved from death for 10 minutes afterwards or anything like that. For veteran players, this means you could basically utilize Immortal leveling within the Dragon Isles in order to level quickly. Since you can't die, you can basically do much more adventurous, much more dangerous pools of enemies, and then AoE them down as quickly as humanly possible, which awards you giga amounts of experience, allowing you to gain a level every few minutes. I spent a little bit of time leveling through this method to find some of the better spots to recommend you where you can level, and this is more or less the route that I would do. Over in the Azure Span Zone, there'll be an area called Big Tree Hills, and this lake right here will be the place where you'll be spending a lot of your time until level 20. There's a bunch of packs of gnolls, and there's a ton of them, some within trees, some near caves, but if anything, there's always plenty of them in great numbers. And what you want to do is pull as many of them as possible in the select area, nuke them down with AoE abilities, and then move on to another sector. And the way you want to do this is you want to go in a circular formation where you want to make sure to pick off groups of them at a time, and you want to be pretty thorough with that area and do as many groups of nodes as possible, so you should be able to establish a pathing where by the time that you're done with your final group, the first group that you killed is now respawning, and then after that is the second group that's respawning, and then the third group and the fourth group, and you can basically do circles around that entire Big Tree Hills area, just slaying packs of nodes up until level 20. At level 20, this is where you're going to go to the capital city and enable War Mode. War Mode does activate the ability for you to not be able to fight against other players of the opposing faction, though in most cases, while at low levels, there is a low chance of encountering other players. It isn't zero, and I definitely ran into situations where I just got one shot by Alliance players, nothing you can do about it, but the 10% additional bonus experience plus the PvP talents can speed up that leveling journey. The only time you would want to disable War Mode is if there's just way too big of a presence of players of the opposing faction in the area, and you may then want to disable War Mode for the time being and level without it, but the 10% bonus experience or any kind of bonus that's higher than that is generally pretty worth it. From level 20, you can now level in a couple of different areas, and the best ones are going to be Unarmed Plains, specifically the Nokudon Hold. In there's a bunch of enemies and a bunch of areas where you could level in, but usually the center stage where there's a bunch of centers crowded together, if you can pull them all together in a big death ball, then you can AoE them down very quickly. And there's a couple of different spots in the center. Then there's also the huts where the shamanistic centaurs are that shoot lightning bolts at you. There's an area where a bunch of dogs and centaurs are hanging out, and also blacksmith area too. So there's a couple of areas that you can kind of bounce between and enemies respawn and then slay them in big groups. The only difficulty there is if you have War Mode on, that's a great place for you to get sniped out by the players, but also there's a lot of ranged centaurs, so you have to get a melee of them for them to want to move on top to the rest of the group, so you can turn them into a big death ball. But that is an efficient area that you can quest in or rather grind in. Once you hit level 30, you could also go back to Azure Span and simply hang out in the Bracket Height for the rest of your questing or grinding experience. Bracket Height is fantastic. There's a bunch of different areas where there's a lot of enemies. Most of the ranged will actually walk in melee, so you'll be able to group them up together a lot better. So AoEing enemies down becomes a lot easier within Bracket Height specifically. Plus, there's plenty of packs where there's a bunch of enemies crowded together, and you can make some pretty decent pulls, and you can basically rotate them pretty regularly with them respawning kind of fast. Now, Blizzard is aware that this leveling, the Immortal leveling thing, is a bug that they are looking to fix in the near future. So the best advice I have for you is utilize this while it's available, because the leveling is incredibly quick. Out of the time spent on this character, I think I spent about 5 hours leveling, or 5 hours on this character, about between 3 and 4 hours actually doing the grinds, and about an hour and a half or so just looking out for different spots, doing some research, trying out different methods, seeing which areas are the most efficient for my experience gains. But really, the leveling itself from 10 to 70 is incredibly quick using this method, so use it while it's currently available. Now, another method that's also incredibly fast that I discovered pretty early on with the arrival of the Earthen allied race is leveling through exploration. The Earthen have a nifty little racial that at first didn't seem like much, but it's actually much better than we thought, which is called Wide-Eyed Wanderer. When you gain experience for exploring a location, gain 200% additional exploration experience as an Earthen, which means the players can actually level an Earthen just by flying around and exploring the entire map of Azeroth, which is surprisingly quick and easy to do. This is an Earthen exclusive thing, so if you're looking to play an Earthen in the future, they are pretty neat as an allied race, and they have a bunch of different bonuses, and they keep buffing them here and there over the last few weeks in order to make them as good as they potentially can be. So there's a good chance that Earthen are probably going to be a solid option if that's what you choose to play as. But the exploration leveling is really fast thanks to skywriting, because previously for other expansions we had the normal flying, which was quick but still relatively slow compared to skywriting, where you can zoom at max speeds, getting from zone to zone, location to location, exploring all the parts of each and every single one of these lands, earning quite a lot of experience in the process. And it's an incredibly efficient way of leveling that doesn't include you having to encounter other players, complete a quest, or even having any kind of combat expertise on a character. As long as you can maneuver on your mount and explore all the different locations, you can gain additional levels rather quickly. Some players have been able to level from 10 to 70 using this method is in a little as 3 hours. Other players have taken 4 hours, so it's a relatively fast method that's available. All you have to do is every time you're flying around, watch at the top right marker above your map for any locational changes. So if you see the zone itself, like Stranglethorn Vale or Elven Forest, if that changes to a specific name location, then you're actually hanging out next to one of the places that can be explored. Once you get to a new location that has a name attached to it, wait until the golden text at the middle top of your screen pops up, showing that you've discovered the location. Once it did so, you can continue on to other places, and as soon as you see a new name or specific naming for any one of your locations, once you discover it, that's what rewards you additional XP. And the easiest way to find some of those zones is to just look around, and if you see any cool monuments or a cave, any landmarks that stand out to you visually, there's a good chance those are technically locations that can be explored by an earthen to glean a little bit of experience off of. As for the actual pathing of explorations and to how you should go about exploring all the different zones, I'm sure there's probably going to be a guide somewhere out there, but as long as you start at the bottom of each map, like at the bottom of Eastern Kingdoms, and go all the way to the top, then maybe head to Calendar and explore the entirety of it, then maybe jump over into some of the other expansions such as the Burning Crusades, explore the entirety of Hellfire, entirety of Zangarmarsh, go to the Grand Terrica Forest, and go through all of the different zones. You should be able to get to level 70 rather quickly, as other players have been able to do. However, by far the fastest and technically the most efficient way of leveling characters is through time walking, but also to make sure the time walking overlaps with some of the other holidays to gain additional bonus experience. And if you look through WoW's calendar, you'll see that there's a lot of little events that happen all throughout the week, and some of those events have overlapping bonuses that can be utilized to make your leveling even more efficient than ever before. Time walking dungeons also offer the most amount of experience gains out of all group activities, and they're better than normal dungeons or better than any of the quests, any of the open world content. The amount of raw experience they earn you and just how fast they are to complete in most cases make them incredibly good if you're trying to get the most amount of experience for the least amount of time spent leveling that character. It's also even better if you have a time walking week that overlaps with another holiday, such as the next time walking dungeon event for Wrath of the Lich King overlapping with the Darkman Fair. Darkman Fair providing a 10% bonus experience, which creates you a week where during the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, you should be able to gain a ton of experience for all of your alt characters. Then there's going to be another overlap a little further down on the 29th of October, where we have the Cataclysm Time Walking plus the Hallow's End, which provides additional EXP bonuses in most cases, unless they somehow change the bonuses for this year's holiday or anything. So the best way of leveling characters is to simply wait until the perfect moment and then jump at the opportunity. But until then, what you can do is buy up a bunch of XP potions for all of your characters to make sure that they have the buffs running and available, but also making sure to log out your characters at and in to make sure they store up plenty of rested XP, and then grind those characters out during that perfect week, which allows you to get the most amount of XP for the least amount of time spent on that character. So it's not amazing if you just want to get some alts now, day one, today, but they are efficient if you're trying to plan for future alts for maybe patch 1105, like for the 20th anniversary or something. But that's usually how level majority of my alt characters is during those overlapping time walking weeks, which allows me to spend maybe a handful of hours getting a character boosted from lower levels all the way to max. And when I say they're incredibly efficient, they really are, and it's got to be one of the fastest leveling methods out there, or if anything, at least one of the most efficient methods out there if you want to spend the least amount of time on that character but gain the most amount of XP with barely any play. As always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video guide. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community, especially if you got any questions regarding leveling, or if you got a better spot when it comes to the Immortal leveling while it's still currently, as of right now, available. Also, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below for the video, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.